So the very, very first Brick Fest, I think it was 2011, at the AHA Center in downtown Toronto, where it had so many memories of my very first time at Brick Fest years before. And I haven't, I am one of the few AFOLs that haven't attended a ton of conventions, which is, it's not for a lack of trying. It's time and everything else. My first convention was 2004 Brickfest in Virginia, where I met a lot of people, Christina, Larry, all my friends that I had talked to on Lugnet for a million years, Suze, Todd. I can't remember who was all there. It was just a whole bunch of us old-timey people that I've been, liaising with on Lugnet for already a bunch of years, 1999, 2000. And I finally got around to going to Brickfest. Callum and I drove down, which is fantastic. And Jeffy was there, and Derek was there. Janie was there. It's the first time I met Janie. So that was my first convention. I don't remember bringing anything for display because we drove down in Callum's car. I had GPS was in the very infancy. I had an external GPS receiver connected to my laptop, and I was running MapPoint 2002. I remember it vividly. And so we were using MapPoint on my laptop, and I had my inverter plugged into a cigarette lighter, and I was running my laptop, my old Toshiba Laidlaw laptop, to give us directions how to get there. And it was a great weekend. I had a blast meeting all the people I've been talking to for all those years. So Brickfest came and went. And then I didn't had another convention. You've listened to all my videos where I just go on and on and on, like I usually do, about all the shows I did in the past. And those were all in Toronto or in the GTA area. Those were local shows, hobby shows, toy train and doll shows, collector con shows, whatever. Not exclusively Lego shows or Lego conventions. So Brickfest was my very first convention. And then 6 years went by, like 6 years. And yes, there was conventions in between that I could have gone to, and I didn't bother. I was working too hard or couldn't get the time off or whatever it was. I never got there. Never got to any other convention until Brick World in Chicago. We had just had Joshua in 2009, and in 2010 we decided to go to Chicago, and that was very, very good. It wasn't going to beat Brickfest. Brickfest was comfortable. Dutch word is gezellig. It was a very intimate, not in a bad sense, a very intimate weekend or 4 days with people I've been talking with on Lugnet for years, Joe Mino, and a whole bunch of other people I mentioned, and absolutely adored Brickfest as the close-knit group that we were. Brick World was massively huge. It was the biggest convention in the world. I believe it still is. And I had a great time. To be perfectly honest, I had a great time, but it was, for me, it was too big. I don't want to use that in a pejorative or bad sense, but I couldn't see everything. I didn't have time to see everything. I was busy with my layout, not my favorite layout, but it did the job for the weekend. And I had a good time, and I met more friends that I knew from before, and met some new friends, and blah, blah, blah. Jeff Van Winden and I went, along with my wife, and Brick World was a little bit different because Sandy and I decided to make it into a family vacation. And so we drove down like on Monday, or Sunday or Monday, we drove to Chicago. And we stayed at the hotel for the week. So because Brick World doesn't start until Thursday, so we got to tour Chicago. So we did touristy stuff for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is utterly fantastic. So we combined, so we were done there for the entire week and the weekend. That was fun. Chicago is a gorgeous city. We did the on and off tours. Saw where Barack Obama did his internship and blah, blah. Saw Oprah's house, blah, blah, blah. We had a great time. Saw the giant silver peanut Went up the tower where Ferris Bueller was. So a lot of things that you saw in movies over your entire life, you got to see on the on and off tours. I really enjoyed it. Josh was like just a year old and he fell asleep while we're on the bus, so we didn't get a chance to get too many times on and off the bus, but we did get on and off the bus a few times. And that was fun. So we'd love to do that again. But Brick World is not, I can see why it's popular because it's massively huge and it's run by wonderful people. Brian is one of my cherished friends. I think he's still running it. But I love Brick World for what it is. But it wasn't intimate. It wasn't close. It was a huge, quote unquote, huge production. Lots of people, fantastic. So Brick Fest 2004, Brick World 2010 is the first two conventions, and basically up until Brick Fet, the only conventions I attended. And then Brick Fet started in 2011. My good and dear and trusted and wonderful friend Janie and her family and all our friends ran Brick Fet. Started off small at the AHA Center, and then it got over to other places where it got bigger and bigger. It was fantastic. Every Brick Fest, every Brick Fet, I mean, I went to, I absolutely loved it. I think I missed 2 or 3 in the middle there somewhere. Again, life gets in the way, and that's perfectly acceptable. I know, like my friend Abner, who always seems to be able to get to all these shows. I admire that, and I wish I had that, but I don't have that, and it's not my, quote unquote, it's not my life. It's not in the cards for me to be able to get out to conventions whenever they happen. I wish it was, but again, I don't lose sleep over it. If I miss a convention, I miss a convention. So Brick Fet, I got to 90% of them over the years. Had an absolute blast because my friends were there from the area, so it was a lot of fun. And I had family and friends visit on the opening days, and hey Dave, we heard about you posted on Facebook. We came down to see it. My sister-in-law brought her kids and blah blah blah, and grandkids and whatever, and we did the big thing, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. I do like being on the planning groups, although I'm not very good at planning and stuff. But if Janie needed me to do something, I do something. So I really enjoyed my Brick Fets more than the other shows. I mean, Brick Fest had its absolutely first kick at the can for me, and it was absolutely wonderful meeting all these people I knew online for years. Brick World was massively huge, and that was why I loved it, and blah blah blah. But Brick Fet was friends. And again, public days are great. I think I talked about this before when I do shows at the convention centers or the hobby shows or the collector cons or whatever. I love shows. I love interacting and liaising and talking to and talking with the public, quote unquote public. I have never been bored doing that. The Anime North was spectacular last year for that. I just couldn't shut up and listen to other people tell me their stories. I absolutely loved that part of the hobby. But when I was down here tonight, right before bed, I came down here to turn off the lights, and I just happened to see this thing sitting on a shelf, and it had been knocked over the other night. I guess I didn't realize it was knocked over. And this is extremely important to me because my whole life, the way I've managed my life is I've never needed a pat in the head by my peers or my job or whatever. If I'm doing something, quote unquote, right or good, I never needed somebody to say, hey, Dave, that was great, and I'm going to give you a pat in the back or a pat in the head and like, hey, look how good Dave is. I've never been that kind of person. I always appreciate when somebody says, hey, Dave, maybe you're, walking the way you walk, as I keep on talking, walking that direction. Maybe you're not realizing the negative impact. Oh, okay, I changed my ways, quote unquote. But if I'm walking along and I'm doing what I want to do and I'm not bothering people, I'm having fun and doing whatever I want to do, and other people like it, I don't need somebody to say, hey, that was great. but when it happens, I I was absolutely moved. So the very first Brick Fest, and I can't remember the theme, but as I think it was like quote unquote retro. The first Brick Fest was taking it back because Janie had, and again, I'm not, and I agree with her on this. Because it is a difference between Brick Fest, the first one I went to, and Brick Fest was running for a couple years before I actually got out there in 2004. Brick Fest versus Brick World. Brick World was like, quote, it felt more like a business, not the, or here to make money and like screw the people, but it was more like it wasn't intimate. It wasn't. It was sincere. Like I loved it. Like it wasn't like I felt like I was being taken advantage of, but it didn't have that intimacy that the original Brick Fest had, because it was more run like a business, and that's not a bad thing. When it becomes that big, that's actually what should happen, like a business, because you have to make decisions based on how big it is, and you don't have the time, you don't have the nuance, you don't have the subtlety, the emotional attachments to whatever. I don't know what I'm saying about this, but specifics. But anyway. I don't want to try to get across, except the Brick World was utterly wonderful, and I will go back. I love Brick World, but it didn't have for me the intimacy that Brick Fest had, and Brick Fest had. So when Janie was running Brick Fest for the first year, she wanted to recapture that feeling from the original Brick Fest when it was small, quote unquote small, and intimate, in a nice sense. And so basically, how does she put it? It was run by fans for fans. No, it was a convention for fans, run by fans for fans, or whatever. And that's exactly what it was. None of us were there as a business. We weren't worried about the not rational, but this bottom line numbers and blah blah blah. We're gonna go out there. We're gonna have a fun convention, and put aside worries about other things. And Brick Fest, the very first one, reminded me so much of my first experience at Brick Fest. And I think that's what Janie was going for, because I believe the official theme of Brick Fest, the first one, was retro. And of course, I brought a classic space layout. and if we're gonna talk about retro Lego, you have the classic castle, the yellow castle, which again I have a copy of. I might do a review on it someday. You have the Black Sea Barracuda. You got the original town minifigs, the 600s and whatever. But you have the Galaxy Explorer in most circles. I won't pull out the Galaxy Explorer, but pull out this guy. In most circles, this is like 100% wonderful nostalgia for people in my generation, and some before and some after, like younger and older. But if you're going to go retro Lego, this is what it's going to look like, right? This is retro to me. This, not so much retro, although now it is, because it's 25 years old. But almost 30 years old. So Brick Fest in 2011, the theme was retro or whatever it was, and I brought a classic space layout, and there was a vote that I was not privy to, and that's fine. And an award was given to the display that most signified the theme of the show, Brick Fest, the very first Brick Fest, and the award was given to me for the classic space layout. And I didn't expect it. I honest to goodness didn't expect it, because when and this is my dichotomy of my self-effacing personality, self-deprecating personality. I don't. Some people do. I do not do things, quote unquote, for recognition from my peers. It's never been something like the want of, I'm doing this for recognition. If recognition happens, that's part and parcel with, but it's not an impetus. It's not a foundational principle of why I do things. Even this YouTube channel, I don't do this. Hey, I want more people to see it. No. The people who see it are good enough for me. Like, you guys are awesome. Obviously I don't put any effort into trying to attract new people. Because I would change. I make it look more professional and get like microphones and better lighting, whatever. It doesn't matter. But it's not what I'm interested in. I'm not here as a fundamental principle to attract others, like lots of others. It's not a core principle of mine. My core principle is to have a nice space for friends. It's a Sunday afternoon coffee at your friend's house. When I grew up, on the weekends, we would either go visit family or we go visit friends for a coffee. And this is what this is. This is us friends hanging out, shooting the breeze. Right now, it's basically when my shooting the breeze and just blathering on about whatever. How's the weather? How's the politics? How's the whatever? And so when I started my classic space, I was enthused. I was absolutely enthused. Now this is just a few years after my original classic space layout, but you get the gist. It's the same tower that's still there now. And so when I was, again, to try to codify this, to talk about this, we started doing classic space layouts in 2006, 2007 ish. And we did a whole bunch, Jeff and I, with the ad hocs, and then I went into that details in other videos, and then we came up with a solution where it's kind of like a standard layout that we can have buildings in a specific place and build on them. When Brick Fett was coming along, I spent a year rebuilding the entire layout multiple times, which was a lot of fun, because I also wanted lighting and everything else in it, because it was for Brick Fett. I wanted to have something, because it's a Lego convention in Canada, the first one in Canada, and I wanted something to display at that show that would, I'll be perfectly honest, I wanted people to be wowed by it. I wanted people, but I wasn't thinking about the theme of the actual show, because I knew what the theme was, retro, whatever it was. But I wasn't computing that my classic space layout with the operative word classic, it's retro, and signifying it. And so I was very much humbled and sincerely appreciative that I won that year, the first year. And I still have it. So this is the award, and this is as retro as you're going to get. So this is all standard pieces. I don't know if they had it in their mind that I was going to win anyway, because I made classic spades trans yellow. That's great for me. And this thing's never been apart. You can see how dusty it is. So it sits up there on my shelf. And when I do shows, I bring this and I put it in the layout. If I feel like it's safe and secure, that I can put it there. And what really moved me is the people that I admire their building techniques and that I can never, quote unquote, this is not self-deprecating, it's not in me to build the way they build. I don't have a personal want. It's just like I'm going to go into this tangent again. My cousin working on his dad's truck for all these years that does car shows. I admire and love and appreciate his enthusiasm for doing that. So when it comes to other people's building techniques and the stuff they have built, the mocks they have built over the years that I've just admired from afar and even from up close at various shows, especially shows that I've personally run, all those conventions, all those toy shows and collector con shows, all my friends show up, and my friend Jeff, as I keep on saying, it's absolutely one of my favorite builders of all time. The guy can do no wrong. He makes the best stuff. He's absolutely he's inspirational. He just absolutely Janie, just my two favorite builders of all time. My friend Dave Sensire, wonderful people, and all these new people that I've met doing these shows. But one of my absolute favorite builders, because it is completely something I could and would never do, is Deborah. And Deborah presented me the award. and as like if you're a junior A hockey player and Wayne Gretzky gives you an award for being best player of the game, like that's how I felt. Honest to God, that's how I felt with Deborah talking to me about it. And Deborah, since I met her, has been one of my most just personally favorite people on the planet. Just a wonderful, dear, sweet friend. But her builds are just so beyond anything I could possibly imagine. And and so when she in 2000, I remember it vividly. She pretty more presentations, and Deborah gave out the one for the one that most captures the theme of the show, the brick fat that year. And she gave me this, and I was beyond moved by that. Again, and I use it without any guile or any pretense. It felt to me like Wayne Gretzky was giving an award for the best hockey player in a junior A or even a bantam hockey league. It's like, because Deborah is in the building echelons of people that are way up there. And again, she's a friend, so I mean, I don't want her to think that she's a very good and dear friend of mine. And I'm very happy that she's doing what she's doing with her life, and and that she gets the recognition she deserves in our hobby, and so and it's deservedly so. Um, but I remember that day. I remember getting this, and I wanted to talk about this because it was something that's very, very important to me. And again, I'm very much humbled and sincerely flattered by it. I look at my classic space layout as something that I just have a want to do. It's not for anything else besides a want to do it, and to keep on working on it. And when that might stop someday, I might say I'm done with it. But until that day happens, I'm gonna keep on working on it. As I say, I have other ideas I want to try and do things with. But right now, I think we are doing at least 3 shows this year. We're doing Bricks in the Six for sure in the summer, whenever that happens. I'm already booked. Because again, my friends in Toronto. We're doing Anime North, which is coming up in less than a couple months now, in May, I believe it is. I'm so looking forward to that because I had such a blast last time. And we're doing, hopefully, there's a show coming in the fall in La Belle Provence in Montreal, Quebec, with Dave Sansaire again. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping I get the time off from work. So, so at least 3 shows this year, which is good. I'm gonna have fun at all. I'm still trying to find some local shows down the street. I'm hoping Hamilton does its doors open again, and Hamilton Steam Museum down the street here does that with the model train layouts inside the Steam Museum, and the riding trains outside, and the mechanical guys and the boat guys and blah, blah, blah. Because before COVID happened, that was one of my favorite shows. First of all, because I didn't have to get up at 4:00 in the morning to drive there. It's 5 minutes on the road for me. And it's in one of my most favorite buildings on the planet, the Hamilton Steam Museum, which is the old pump house for Hamilton back when they had the waterworks. All the water was pumped for all of the piping, the water piping in the city of Hamilton back in the 1870s. It's a gorgeous building, and they have all the brass fittings and blah blah blah. I just love going in there, and it smells museum. So I just love that kind of stuff. So maybe 4 shows, maybe more. If I get a specific date, I will make a video about it and saying, by the way, I will be here on such and such a date at this show. And I know most people watching these videos are nowhere near Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. So I'm not expecting you guys to make it to the shows. But I will say I will be doing shows this year, and having fun doing it. I'm going to have more memories because Lord knows I love my memories. But I just wanted to talk about that for 24 minutes. And I can wrap this up because I got everything I wanted to say. Woohoo! That's a change. Look at that. I got to the end. So that's it. That's all. Yeah, that actually felt good. So I don't have to do anything else. I'm going to go to bed now. Everybody out there, stay safe. Take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your family. And again, family is not necessarily blood relatives. Family is who you make family. I just finished episode 9 of Star Trek Picard. I'm not going to talk about it in this episode because I don't want spoilers, but it was absolutely fantastic. Episode 8 might have been in some ways better, but episode 9 was just knocked the floor right out of me. I'm a little bit emotional actually right now, but I won't give you spoilers. So yeah, that's it. That's all. You guys all stay safe. I will talk to you soon.